Hello and welcome. My name is Diane Moore and I'm president of the Markham Village Conservancy and a teacher at Markham District High School. I'm here to welcome you to Markham Village and share some of the very special places that make this village the best place to live. I've been a part of the Markham Village Conservancy since 1996 when a group of concerned citizens came together to save the Markham Village train station from demolition. But more about that later. For now, I think we should start our tour of the village with an overview. Discovering Markham Village. Bounded by Highway 407 on the south and 16th Avenue to the north, Markham Village is one of the City of Markham's largest hamlets. Stretching east and west for kilometers, the most frequented area visitors enjoy is Markham Village's Main Street and immediate surroundings. Over a 2.5-kilometer stretch, history and culture mix with modern-day amenities and make for a charming area to explore. Main Street and Highway 7. The most well-known intersection of Markham Village has gone through vast changes over the decades. In 1917, the intersection and surrounding area looked quite different. Today, only a few structures have survived into the modern era. At the time, Highway 7 did not yet extend west of Main Street. And the southeast corner was home to the Markham Agricultural Fair. Markham Village began hosting the fair in 1857. Originally focused on agricultural advancement and innovations, the fair became a social event for friends and neighbors to meet. Today, the fair is relocated a few kilometers north of Markham Village. It draws more than 80,000 visitors and over 3,000 exhibitors. Heading west on Highway 7 meant first detouring south to Wellington Street before continuing on. Grace Anglican Church was relocated nearby to the north side of the newly created segment of Highway 7. It would be moved again when Highway 7 was widened circa 1965. Starting in 1977, the site of the former fairgrounds and adjoining areas was redeveloped into a community center, library, and veterans memorial. The roof design of the library was chosen to honor the historic importance of the site as the former home of the Markham Fair. Officially called Veterans Square, the area was revitalized in 2018. Across the street on Washington Street, the former St. Andrew's Church is now the Markham District Veterans Association. Vinegar Hill. It's a pleasant stroll southbound from Highway 7. In the 1800s, the Rouge River, at the bottom of the hill, was the perfect spot for a mill. Glen Rouge Mills, located on the east side, produced cider until it was dismantled in the 1920s and the land used only as a residence. And on the west side, Markham Mills, owned by the Milne family, continued to operate until it burned down in 1933. The dam figured prominently in local drama of the day as it was often shut off, stopping the flow of water, to the ire of the Glen Rouge Mills owners. The original Main Street Bridge was replaced in 1905, again in 1946, and then again in 2014 during the widening of the entire segment of Main Street South. Now there's an ample sidewalk and trees line both sides. A walking entrance to Rouge River Trails and Milne Dam Park appears just past Archibald Baker House. Baker House has an interesting two-door front, not typically seen in those days. While considered one dwelling, it served as both a home for his family and as a general store, one of his many businesses, which included Glen Rouge Mills, operating a post office, and being a notary public. Bordered on the south end by Princess Street, the area's name is thought to have originated in several ways. One is that it was named by Irish settlers to commemorate the 1798 Battle of Vinegar Hill in Ireland. Another is that barrel makers from the local mill rolled full caskets downhill to see whose went in the straightest line. And a third, for fun, laborers would push barrels full of cider vinegar up the hill to see who could get it there fastest, a distance of 850 meters. Rouge River Trails and Milne Dam Park. The Rouge Valley Trail on the east side of Main Street South runs through the original site of the Glen Rouge Mill, owned by Archibald Baker. The trail system stretches 2.5 kilometers eastward from Main Street, mostly following the river, with portions designated as therapy trails. Through a network of connecting trails, hikers and cyclists can make their way all the way down to Lake Ontario. Wildlife such as deer, turtles, salmon, and other indigenous species are present year-round. The surrounding trees and plants, coupled with the sounds of flowing water, create a place for people to enjoy quiet time away from city life. It's also a favorite spot for wildlife and nature photographers. West of Main Street, the Rouge Valley Trail system connects to the Milne Dam Conservation Park. Built by the Milne family in 1835, the dam served as the primary power source for their grist mill, one of the many on the Rouge River system. Replaced by a concrete version circa 1916, the dam also flooded an area of adjoining plain and created a pond for the townfolk to enjoy. Today, the dam also includes a fish ladder, helping preserve marine ecology. Marking the west side of the Milne Park Conservation Area, a 135-meter-long bridge was constructed to connect segments of the Rouge Valley Trail system. The bridge is one of the most popular selfie spots in Markham. As early as the 1840s, Markham residents have enjoyed Milne Pond and the surrounding green space. Today, you can still find canoes, paddleboards, and kayaks on the pond. Picnics, family gatherings, and other events still take place in the park. And it's the place to be on Canada Day. Main Street. The most trafficked section of Markham Village begins at Highway 7 and runs 1 kilometer north. Today, this section of Main Street is all commercial businesses. The heritage of the street and buildings has been preserved. By 1907, many of the original houses, built of wood, had been destroyed by numerous fires from the previous decades. Newer constructed buildings were now brick and mortar. Like most main streets of the various hamlets, Markham's developed based on the needs of the villagers and the industry around them. In the 1900s, there were 4 wagon and carriage makers, 3 blacksmith shops, 3 hotels, and 25 stores and shops. It was also the social heart for visiting farmers and their families coming to town on a Saturday night to see new merchandise in the shops, and socialize with townsfolk and catch up on all the latest gossip. By 1935, the road would be paved with asphalt. Most of the historical buildings are still intact today, with any renovations requiring to adhere to strict preservation guidelines. Some were frequented by revolutionists. Some were frequented by the masses. And some were said to be haunted. The village has a long history with the arts and celebrations. In 1916, live performances were being held in the old town hall. The building became the Roxy Theatre circa 1955 with a capacity of 360. Located on the site of the old Franklin Hotel, a tree is lit every year to kick off the winter holiday season. It kicks off the Main Street Festival of Lights. Numerous other holiday installations are visible along Main Street. The Robinson Street Market operates Saturday mornings, May through October. In addition to produce and artisan foods, friendly cooking competitions and other entertainment also takes place. The Music Festival is a popular event for all types of music lovers. Starting back in 1979, the Kinsman Club began the festival as a celebration of culture, crafts, food, and music. The event would change its name to Markham Village Festival in 1981, and then again to what it's known as today. Artists from across Canada join local musicians to entertain crowds. The decades of posters can be found on the Markham Festival homepage. They are in and of themselves works of art. And in 2020, the event happened virtually. Main Street also hosts the Classic Car Show annually. Held in July, car enthusiasts bring beautifully restored and maintained cars representing decades of history and styles. A car is considered a classic after it is 25 years old. In addition to the beauty of the vehicle itself, these cars are much sought after by film directors and photographers. Classic vehicles can also be an investment, with certain models being sold at auction houses, fetching six-figure price tags. Off the commercial strip. In addition to Main Street North, the East and West Side neighborhoods are still largely intact with century homes and other buildings. One such building is the home of the Markham Guild of Village Crafts. The Guild is committed to the preservation of traditional crafting while exploring and creating new crafting styles for the future. After responding to an ad in the local newspaper, a group of 32 members would inaugurate the Guild on April 5, 1971. The Guild's first home was the top floor of the old town hall, which at the time was known to locals as the Roxy Theatre. The Guild would move twice more before finding their current home on Church Street. The Guild is an active part of the community and draws members and visitors from all age groups and backgrounds. In 2000, art students from nearby Markham District High School created murals for the exterior of the building. The first high school in Markham can be found on nearby Albert Street. The Markham Village High School was constructed in 1879 and still stands today, being used as a drop-in workspace for local entrepreneurs. For the younger kids, the Franklin Street Public School was first built around 1846 and rebuilt in 1886 after a fire burned the original wood structure. Originally called the Markham Village Public School, it originally charged tuition fees, but would later be made free in 1871. Attendance would not be mandatory until 1891. A walk through these streets is a delightful trip back in time when the village had about 1,000 inhabitants. Similar style houses are also found further north on Main Street North, past the commercial strip. On the west side of Main, on Robinson Street, the Maple Leaf Woolen Mills, built in 1886, once produced fabrics and finished goods. In its last years, the mill was under contract with the Canadian Army to supply blankets in aid of the war effort in Europe. It operated until 1917, when lightning struck the flagpole on top of the building, starting a fire that burned it to the ground. It would not be rebuilt. Markham Village train station. Built in 1870, the train station roughly represented the dividing line between the two historical hamlets of Markham Village and Mountjoy. Used today as a commuter train stop and community space, the station was an integral part of commercial development. Not only did it facilitate local goods being shipped to other parts of Canada, it also brought visitors from abroad to the growing hamlet. In 1990, the building was slated for demolition until local supporters convinced city government to restore it. Most of the original signage has been restored or recreated, and on the interior, furniture donations from residents help preserve the station's original look. And, as always, the elements were a concern for safe and timely travel. Located just south is the station master's house, who was responsible for the efficient and safe operation of the station. At the time, the station master was considered one of the most prominent roles in the village and was provided a handsome home to live in. The fire hall across the street from the train station has an interesting feature. Although built in the 1970s, a key historical feature was included in the design. No longer used today, early fire halls all had towers, which is where the firemen hung hoses to dry after having been used. Mountjoy. North of the train tracks, and for a few kilometers more, is the area known as Mountjoy, complete with its own area of historical homes. Some homes are lived in by 5th and 6th generation original owners, dating back to the early days of the hamlet's formation. Like other communities of the day, it had much agricultural activity, and barn raisings were a regular occurrence in the late 1800s and early 1900s. In 1917, the hamlet would be annexed with neighboring Markham Village. The northern part of Mountjoy is the site of the Markham Museum, preserving and recording history and culture for all of Markham. Originally secondary school number 16, The building would serve as the main inside exhibit area and first headquarters for the 25-acre open-air museum. The building is now used for administrative uses only. Today, the John Luhnow Center welcomes visitors and researchers in a modern facility that presents history and culture in a variety of mediums. The museum features nearly 30 buildings of various vintages and uses. Among these is Hoover House, dating back to 1834,